So Nate, come on up here, my man. Thank you so much. Oh, hi Antigua. Love you guys so much. Miss you. I just first wanted to start by saying thank you, Pastors Earl and Mika. We have the absolute best pastors in the world. And here's what I was thinking about today about them. They love the same whether we're 1,000 miles away or whether we're here in the living room talking. And I just think that's such a special thing, such a God-given gift. So we're so grateful for you. We love you so much. Thank you for this opportunity to get to share. I'm excited. I'm excited for today. If you can, have your Bibles, turn with me to 1 Kings 1. If you don't worry, I'll read it to you. It actually has a lot of tough names, so I'm going to try to get through it, all right? So we're going to start in 1 Kings 1, verse 5. But before that, it kind of sets it up, and basically it's saying, David is an old man, okay? King David is an old man. This is what's happening. He is getting old, and it's about to be a transition from one king to the next. It's about to be a transition. He's about to die, truly. And so here's what happens. 1 Kings 1, verse 5, it says this. Now Adonijah, whose mother was Haggith, put himself forward and said, I will be king. I just think this is kind of funny. He says, I will be king, right? And so he got chariots and horses ready with 50 men to run ahead of him. His father had never rebuked him by saying, why do you behave as you do? Wow. So, just a side note, fathers, discipline your children, right? Okay. Or else they might think they will be king, okay? So, and then he says, he was also very handsome and was born next after Absalom. Okay, also, to all you handsome, beautiful people, don't think that means you're going to be king, okay? Let's keep going. Now, Adonijah, in verse 7, Adonijah conferred with Joab, son of Zeruiah, and with Abiathar, the priest, and they gave him their support. But Zadok the priest, Benaiah son of Jehoiada, Nathan the prophet, Shimei and Ray and David's special guard did not join Adonijah. Adonijah then sacrificed sheep, cattle, and fattened calf at the stone of Zoheleth near En-Rogel. He invited all his brothers, the king's son, and all the royal officials of Judah. All right, so we're going to stop reading for a second. I'm just going to tell you a little bit more of the rest of the story. So this is what happens. He claims himself, self-proclaimed king, so to speak. And then Bathsheba, King David's wife, was kind of like, wait just a second. And she goes into King David and says, you promised my son Solomon would be king, right? You promised. And so, I don't know about you, but if your wife comes in and says, hey, you promised something, you better follow through on it and follow up. So David, is what he does, he sends the priests and a few officials to anoint Solomon king and to crown him king. While Adonijah, at the same time, across the city, across the country, was partying, right? And he has this big party going on. He has this party going on with the king's sons, with all of these people. He's partying across the way because he's claiming that he is king. And so I just think this is such an interesting picture. So someone felt that it would be right to go tell Adonijah. And then so someone goes and they tell him, hey, look, someone else across the way that King David anointed is actually being king. And you're just kind of claiming it. You're just kind of like acting like this is real and it's not real. And so they call him out, pretty much. They call him out. And so this is what happens. Then Adonijah went and took hold of the horn of the altar in the temple. And I was researching what does the horn of the altar mean, and here's what it is. The horn of the altar is a neutral zone, so to speak. So apparently they don't really like killing in the altar in the temple, right? Okay, so they don't really like a shoot him up in the temple. So he goes there as a safe zone, thinking King Solomon's about to come kill me because I was claiming to be king. Okay, so that's the whole story. But I want to tell you three things. I want to talk about three things that I feel like God just pointed out that kind of jumped out through this story. I believe that this is for us today. So let's move forward with these three things. The first thing is this: what happens? It's a question. What happens when we exalt ourselves? What happens when we exalt ourselves like Adonijah, not King David? First thing is King Adonijah, he actually looked pretty confident, right? It looked good. He was having this big party, right? All of the king, he actually had a lot of people come and support him and show support. And say, look, even the king's sons came and showed support, and one of the priests came and showed support, right? So that's what it looks like at first, but self-exaltation, self-centeredness, and self-focus will always result in a short-lived glory. Will always result in a short-lived glory. And I don't know about you, but I think we are called to an eternal glory. We're not called to eternal glory. We're called to an eternal glory because our glory is not our own. Our glory is from the Father. So anything that comes our way, you point it straight back to the Father because that is his. It is not yours. So what area of our lives are we exalting ourselves? What area of our lives? When we go in to serve on hosts on a Sunday, are we saying, hey, I want to do this because I want people to know my name and I want to be able to wear the tag and the lanyard? It's a cool thing to do. Or are we doing it because we're representing the Father? Because smiles and hugs. When you're leading a connect group, is that connect group just so that you can grow it bigger than everyone else's connect groups? Or is it just so that you can say, hey, come to my address, my home, this is my name? Or are you glorifying the name of the Father through your connect group, through what you're doing? If you're growing in your leadership and in your influence, is the reason for growth for you, or is it for the King of Kings? We have to do the main thing, we have to exalt the Father, because you know what happens when we exalt ourselves? This is what can start to happen. We see it in Adonijah. We can see it here. Our righteousness starts to fade. This is what happens when we exalt ourselves. Our hope in Christ starts to fade. This is what happens. Our confidence starts to fade. Before, at the beginning, he was confident, right? He was asking all the sons, kings, come. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the story, he is cowering in fear of the king. So he lost his confidence, right? And his confidence only lasted as long as his party lasted. That's really what it was. Our influence starts to fade. Our influence starts to fade. People may look at him at first as being influential, but it starts to fade if it's about yourself. Our next steps start to be unclear. I mean, seriously, what was he going to do next? What was his next move? He had already sacrificed all the fattened cows, right? He had already done all the party. What was his next move? We lose direction. We lose vision. We start to doubt everything in our lives. You can't trust your own decisions anymore because your decisions start to be all about comparison and pride and myself and what I'm focused on and my self-exaltation. We can't trust our decision-making process anymore. So that's the first one, okay? That's the first one. Number two is this: there is power in being chosen. There's power in being chosen. So here's the thing. King Solomon was chosen by King David. He was chosen to be on that throne. He was chosen. And I want every one of us to understand that we are chosen. Right? We are chosen. You are chosen to carry the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords through the Holy Spirit with you in everything that you do. In every place that you step your foot, you are called to claim it for the kingdom of heaven. That is, you are chosen to do that. Don't think that it is someone else's job. That is your job. You are chosen to be amazing little directors. You are chosen to be amazing host team leaders. You are chosen, absolutely. But it's not about you. It's about the Father. You are chosen, but it's about the Father. Understand that the reason you have influence and authority is not because of how awesome you are. The reason you have influence and authority is because you were chosen by the King. Solomon, he had influence. Adonijah had none. Adonijah had no influence because he wasn't chosen by the King. You're chosen. So recognize you're chosen as you walk in confidence in all that you do, everything you set your hands to. And the last one is this: promise follows his presence. Promise follows his presence. And I want us to think about this one a little bit. Here's the thing. We're looking at the life of David and then transitioning into Solomon. But David was descendants from Abraham, Isaac, Judah, Jesse, David, and then Solomon. And later in the lineage, Jesus. This is the lineage that it was set forth for Jesus. And here's the thing. From the very beginning, the children of Israel, you know what they did is they followed the Ark of the Covenant. They followed the Ark of the Covenant, which represented the very presence of God the Father. It represented, when God parted the Red Seas, the Ark of the Covenant went in first. Because they followed the presence of God into victories. They followed the presence of God into battle. The presence of God was what led them in everything that they did. No matter what, they followed the presence of God. So here's the thing. Solomon was chosen to be in this lineage for a reason, right? And they were following his presence in the same manner that they had done since their forefathers. But here's what I want us to see. Adonijah, he ran to the temple, to the horn of the altar, but only after the fact. He ran to the horn of the altar after the fact, after his life was falling apart, after he was in fear, he was in pain, he was worried, everything that he had put his hand to started to fail. He was thinking to himself, I have nothing left to live for, and then he runs to the temple. But the way that Solomon and the way that God designed it and the way that we are called to live our life is we follow the presence of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. We don't step one foot without his presence. We need to move when his presence moves and not any other time. When something seems right practically or seems right in our brain, we don't take a movement unless God has called us to in his presence. We're in church who runs to the horn of the altar in the good times and in the bad. We run whenever things look good, when we faced victories or defeats. We run no matter what to the altar, to the temple, and say, Father God, I am desperate for your presence. That there is nothing else that sustains. We don't just end there, we start there. That's what we're going to be as a church. We don't end there. And the leaders of this house will follow his presence, I believe this, and cling to the altar because we will run to the altar because God has called us to do that first and foremost. This is why our pastors are so incredibly faithful to remind us that the prayer meeting that we just had is the most important meeting of the week. Because what we do in there is we go into battle for people. We go into battle for the ones we're keeping his presence at the forefront of everything that is happening here. Not anything else, not anyone else, but it's about his presence. That's why we come early on Sundays and pray over the auditorium seats, right? And don't wait till someone asks you to. Come pray. Come pray. That is all our responsibility, to welcome his presence in on Sunday and to recognize God. If he is moving in this place, it is because his presence exists. It's because his presence exists here. And our pastors have exemplified that for us so clearly. And I want us to recognize it is all of our responsibilities. Grab your friends. Bring them this Sunday. Bring them before first, before second, before third. You be praying over, and not just God bless the Sunday, but God, go in deep for people and fight on behalf of them and recognize that we are called to bring God's presence and to welcome it. Pastors Earl and Nika started this church. When they started this church, they followed his presence to this place, right? And that's not changing. That's who we are as a church. Pastors Earl and Nika have let us know that. And nothing about this church will ever change away from his presence. So in 100 years, in 200 years down the road, when all of us are long gone, when all of us are long gone, when our names have been completely forgotten, the legacy of this church, when we are all long gone, there will be a lasting legacy. With all of my heart, there will be an impactful, lasting legacy on the next generation, and the next, and the next, and the next. But that generation, that lasting generation, that legacy is not about the name of Shoreline. It's not about your name. It's not about my name. It's about the name of There is absolutely nothing else that the legacy will look like except for his presence. A legacy of his presence. A legacy of his presence is being created Sunday after Sunday. A legacy of understanding what it looks like when you follow his presence. Promises will come. I love you guys so much.